Have you ever wondered what obscure secrets old rural families kept behind locked doors? The case I will reveal today, hidden for almost a century in the forgotten valleys of Western Virginia, is one such story. The story of Jedediah Blackwood is not merely about an isolated family. It is a story of how geographical and social isolation allowed unthinkable practices to flourish for generations. In dusty judicial documents that no one had examined in decades, I made my discovery. I found reports from rural doctors who witnessed the devastating results of this distorted family lineage. What I discovered goes far beyond what we imagine possible in our own American history. I was truly shaken by my findings. These are family standards that produce devastating genetic consequences you need to know to understand the importance of studies on human heredity and genetics. If you value true stories that would never appear in conventional history books, subscribe now to accompany our series on the forgotten families of rural America. What I will reveal about the Blackwoods will forever change your understanding of what happened in the isolated corners of the Appalachian Mountains in the 1920s. In the shaded valley of Pine Hollow, McDowell County, Western Virginia, the blackened bones of the old Blackwood house still remain. The soil seems impregnated with the smell of ashes. Even after 70 years since the fire that consumed the property, the trees grew high around the ruins as if nature itself tried to hide the secrets that occurred there between 1895 and 1932. An inexplicable sense of discomfort is reported by occasional visitors. Local residents avoid the place completely. The truth about this family reveals a fundamental failure in our understanding of human nature. When we isolate people for a long time, when we allow a man to establish complete rule over others without supervision or consequences, we create conditions for the unthinkable to flourish in the shadows. The Blackwood case is not just a history of consanguinity. It is a testimony of how institutional failures can allow predators to control entire generations. If you want to follow more cases like this, cases which move with all society and reveal hidden truths, subscribe to the channel so as not to lose any investigation. Pine Hollow existed in a world of its own, situated 27 kilometers from the nearest city. The narrow, 230-acre valley was surrounded by 150 m steep escarpments. A narrow trail, impassable during the rigorous mountain winter, was the only access. The Blackwood property contained the 6-room main wooden house. Spread throughout the property were 3 smaller huts, a mistreated barn, and cultivation fields that produced just enough for precarious survival. The hierarchy was clear and unchanging. A supreme position was occupied by Jedediah Blackwood, born in 1870. His 2 older children, Ezekiel and Odia, performed their orders without question. From dawn until dusk, women and children worked in the fields, prepared food, and maintained the deteriorated structures. Any disobedience resulted in confinement in the earthen basement under the main house, where freezing temperatures in winter and rat infestation were only part of the torment. Mingling with the constant sound of axes cutting wood were the occasional screams that echoed through the valley. The air was permeated by the smell of smoked meat and baked bread, along with the persistent odor of rarely washed bodies. In the rare moments when visitors appeared, street vendors or census staff, the property fell into a disturbing silence, with children and women disappearing into the rear structures. In 1895, when a thunderstorm dropped a tree over the main road connecting the county to the rest of the state, no one imagined that the resulting isolation would establish the conditions for the distorted dynasty about to begin. Jedediah stood out not only for his imposing stature of almost 2 m but for his exceptional ability with natural medicine. He knew the properties of every plant in the surrounding forests. He knew how to extract tinctures and prepare ointments that effectively treated everything from fevers to deep injuries. This knowledge made him a respected figure even beyond the isolation of Pine Hollow. When a Doria's epidemic plagued the county in 1904, it was Jedediah who provided roots and herbs that saved dozens of children. This reputation allowed him free movement between communities where others would be seen with distrust. He participated in religious meetings in the Welsh community, where his deep voice leading hymns impressed congregations. On the rare occasions when authorities visited the property, they found a family apparently ill and self-sufficient. Jedediah showed impressive knowledge of biblical scriptures, citing complex passages from memory. He kept a meticulous daily log on climate, harvests, and births, revealing an orderly and methodological mind. This duality provided perfect protection. Respected externally as a healer and religious man, he exercised absolute control internally without interference. No one questioned when new children appeared on the property, assumed to be orphaned nephews or sons of distant cousins that Jedediah generously welcomed. Leave in the comments, never give up the truth if you believe justice must reach all the oppressed. The first sign of the disturbing standard emerged in 1905 when Martha, Jedediah's wife, questioned her husband's frequent presence in their teenage daughter's room for nights on end. The next morning, Martha was found at the base of the cliff with a broken neck. The official report recorded an accident during medical herb collection. In 1908, Sarah, the eldest daughter, gave birth to a child with cast fingers and severe breathing difficulty. Jedi explained to the community that Sarah had married briefly a traveling merchant who had died of pneumonia. The child passed away before completing 3 months. In 1912, Rebecca, the second daughter, produced twins with distorted facial characteristics and an inability to suck properly. Both died within weeks. This time, Jedediah kept the birth completely hidden from the external community. In 1915, the third daughter, Ruth, gave birth to a child with an exposed dorsal spine and died during delivery. Jedediah recorded the death as puerperal fever in her personal diary. In 1918, Sarah's first granddaughter, then only 13, had a pregnancy. A child was born with a disproportionate head and never developed speech capacity. He lived 6 years in a semi-catatonic state before succumbing during a particularly severe winter. Between 1920 and 1927, records indicate at least 9 births on the Blackwood property. 7 children had serious anomalies, from stunted members to congenital heart failures. Jedediah documented each case with clinical accuracy in a locked notebook found decades later, detailing the expected progression of characteristics when a lineage maintains its purity. In 1929, Dr. William Harrison, an itinerant doctor, was called to the property to attend a serious case of pneumonia, and what he witnessed profoundly disturbed him. More than 20 people were inhabiting an inappropriate space, with multiple women in various stages of pregnancy and children with obvious signs of severe genetic conditions. Jedediah's youngest daughter, Elizabeth, had lost her husband during World War I. She returned to the family property in 1917 with a 3-year-old daughter. In 1924, this granddaughter was pregnant. The child was born with a severe intellectual disability and physical characteristics showing consanguinity. In 1927, the definitive traumatic event occurred. Jedediah's great-granddaughter, then just 12, was found hidden in the barn, pregnant and terrified. She reported to her brothers that Grandpa had visited her room regularly since her 11th birthday. When rumors reached Elizabeth, she confronted her father. The next morning, Elizabeth was found hanged in the barn. The official report registered suicide, although defensive marks on her arms